Welcome to You Don't Know Ball. Today, we're talking with MrBucsNation about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, kind of their off-season, what to look forward to in the 2024 NFL season. So, Dobbs, you want to go ahead and kick it off with a couple questions you had?
Yeah, of course. So I think it's only right. Obviously with the draft just happening, I got to ask you, what was your favorite draft pick that the Bucs made? Because I got definitely a fair amount of questions I want to ask. I figure it's only right though, bro. We start off with, we just had the draft. What's your favorite draft pick that you guys made and what's the reason?
I think it's going to sound like a cop out, right? But for me, it's Graham Barton. Just because, one, I did not expect him to be on the board at the Buccaneers selection at pick 26. I thought he was going to go much earlier. Two is I think that he was the all-around best interior offensive lineman that was available in the draft. And I know that there was some debate and discussion. I'm sure you guys had seen it as well of, Jackson Powers Johnson versus Graham Barton. And to me, it was if you wanted the best pure center in this draft, you would want JPJ. However, if you wanted the best interior offensive lineman who's more versatile, you would have went with Graham Barton. So the Bucs did opt to go with Graham Barton. The reason I think this is so huge is because since Ryan Jensen had his injury that eventually led to him retiring this offseason, the Bucs have been missing a road grader, just a mauler in the middle of that offensive line. You've had Robert Hainsey be their starting center for the past couple of years. He's been okay, but there's definitely was a need for an upgrade there. They did get it with Graham Barton. I think both of you can attest to this. Just having a good center in the league can, one, make your entire offensive line better, but two, can make your entire offense better. So I think that's what the Bucs have here with Graham Barton now. I'm going to be excited to see what this means for the rushing attack, for the passing opportunities, protecting quarterback Baker Mayfield, and overall, I just think it was a slam dunk pick.
Yeah, I mean, good center play, I think, is one of the most underrated things in the NFL. And personally, as a Bears fan, watching horrible center play these last couple years has just been wanting in the draft for them to go ahead and go get a guy. Obviously, they upgraded, this past offseason, but I think me and Dobbs, whenever we would do our mock drafts, I think Graham Barton was one of the top players we had going to the Buccaneers because not only does he give you that inside versatility, but he played tackle in college, and if Gadecki gets hurt, he can always play there in a pinch. Like, he gives you the ability to have your best five out there at all times.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that, well, Gadecki's playing right tackle now for the Bucs. So yeah, no, and it also goes to show the investment with the interior, with just the offensive line as a whole. Tristan Wirfs, first round draft pick. You now have Robert Hainsey, former third round draft pick. Graham Barton, first round draft pick. Cody Mock, second or third round draft pick. Luke Gedeke, second or third round draft pick. So it's investing in that O line, which has been so important for the Bucs here.
So what do you think kind of going into the season is kind of the ceiling and the floor for the Buccaneers? I know we have a long ways away, but they've made some good additions.
Yeah, I think the ceiling is kind of where they were last year. I think that being a game away from, if not going to the NFC Championship, is where you can really expect the peak of this team to be. If everything goes well, of course, as you said, they've made a lot of good moves, but new offensive coordinator, how is that going to work going forward? So I think that the ceiling is them going to an NFC Championship game or making it another deep run in the playoffs. Whereas the floor, I mean, you might be looking at a 7-win, 8-win team, something along those lines. Now, is that good enough to win the NFC South? We'll have to wait and see. Obviously, there's a lot of teams that did make upgrades with the Falcons, especially bringing in Kirk Cousins. That's going to be some big upgrades there as well. But I would say that those would probably be the floor and the ceiling.
Okay.
I was going to say, it's only right that I have to ask, because I'm a Saints fan myself. We're two NFC South fans here. I think we can both agree. We kind of took a little bit of a sigh of relief when we saw them take Penix at number 8 overall, right? Because I think we kind of had the same mutual feeling where the Falcons were looking to, load up and they could potentially, go really far this year. And then when they took Penix at number 8, it was kind of like, all right, you know what? For whatever reason, the foot's not all the way on the gas for the right now. And that's got to give us a lot of hope that, either, the Bucs or the Saints still very much in line to win the division this year.
Yeah, I think it's still going to be, even with the Falcons doing that, which, I mean, I had a colleague of mine say to me that the Falcons taking Michael Penix at 8 overall, just in the case of like the Bucks here, was more beneficial to the Bucks' chances of winning the NFC South than the Bucks picking Graham Barton in round one, right? And, that just because, and look, I get it from a perspective of like, get when you have a chance to get a franchise quarterback, right? But at number 8 overall, you did just sign Kirk Cousins to a 4-year, $180 million deal with $90 million guaranteed. It was a bit of a puzzling move. So that is great news for the for the Bucks and the Saints and the Panthers, who are, again, I think it's going to be a yet another hotly contested year for the NFC South. But the Falcons, yeah, puzzling move there, especially when you have guys like Dallas Turner that was on the board and some of the other options that were there who could have made an immediate impact. That was, I mean, I'm sure you guys agree, the most puzzling move of the draft by far. And I do get it in like one very niche specific way, but after that, it's like, okay, I've kind of lost the plot here.
I think me
Yeah,
and
well,
Dobbs
like me and Hunter have been saying, there's been a lot of people, making the comparison to how it's similar to the Jordan Love thing. But I say, like, my opinion, absolutely not. Because when Jordan Love came out, he was very raw and he was much younger. And I was very high on Jordan Love's skill set when he was coming out. But I remember I was very clear and rigid, like, he needs at least a couple years to sit, and he fell to that perfect situation. With Penix, we're in the opposite range now, where it's like Penix was very developed as far as it coming out of college standpoint. And now you're going to a situation where you're not going to play for at least, barring an injury, 2 or 3 seasons at least. And it's like, more than anything, kind of halting what was already immediately developed. I just didn't understand that at all. But I think we can agree, bottom line is, we're both happy as NFC South fans. And this was gonna lead to my next question because you already mentioned him. I had to ask how you feel about your new offensive coordinator, Liam Cohen, coming in and pairing him up with Baker Mayfield. How confident are you? Coming from that Rams system, coming from that Kentucky system. He's coached Will Levis. The track record pretty good all in all. So how confident are you coming in, having him be your new offensive coordinator?
I do feel good. I think that whenever he wasn't at Kentucky, I think he had a gap year there where he was with the Rams. You notice that difference in Kentucky's offense a lot. So it obviously helps that he has that kind of to his resume, that he was able to showcase some really good things at the collegiate level. He does have experience calling offensive plays at the NFL level with the LA Rams. Unfortunately, that team had so many injuries. I think that it did hamper his ability as an offensive play caller, just because he didn't have a lot of pieces to work with. But also, he's got previous experience with Baker Mayfield. And I think that that's huge as well. He was with Baker the last month of the year. I think that was a big thing that led to that hire being the case, was with that previous experience with Mayfield. And I think that Cohen's going to bring in a West Coast style of offense. One that is very similar to what we saw from former Bucks offensive coordinator Dave Canales, now the head coach of the Carolina Panthers over there. And it is an exciting prospect, right? I think it is a reason to be cautiously optimistic. Obviously, you never know at the end of the day how an offensive coordinator is going to perform joining a new team. But I do think that with his style of offense, it's going to be one that is going to be beneficial to the quarterback and hopefully means some more continuity going forward.
100%.
Oh, absolutely.
Now, kind of going into that with the Baker re-signing, what was your favorite move of the Bucks offseason from the free agency class? Was it Baker re-signing, or was it adding another player that you think could help their team this year?
I think in terms of a favorite move, bringing back Antoine Winfield Jr. was probably one of the most important moves. Bringing back Levante David's up there as well, just because the Bucks had a tough offseason in terms of they had to pay a lot of guys. Right, Baker got paid, Winfield Jr. got paid, Mike Evans got paid. I would say Mike Evans coming back is my favorite move of the offseason, just because of what he means to the franchise, what he means to the offense as a whole. But there were a lot of moves that you just mentioned there, that you kind of spoke to. A lot of different free agents were brought in, or their own free agents brought back. Not a lot of names brought in from the outside. I think Randy Gregory was one, and honestly, that might be it. In terms of outside names, at least for now. Obviously, post-draft free agency brings some stuff in there as well. But I would say Mike Evans coming back would be my favorite move of the offseason.
Okay, yeah.
I think.
Yeah, go ahead,
Well,
Dobbs.
I was gonna say too, just real quick, like it never gets enough credit, or he never gets talked about enough. I mean, Antoine Winfield is truly in territory now where I'd say Antoine Winfield, especially after last season when you're crunching the tape, Antoine Winfield is the best safety in the league. You guys getting him back, keeping him like that's a humongous move. And he's a player, as you know, that Super Bowl run that rookie year, it did not matter the age. He was out there making plays. This is a guy who's gonna be making plays for you guys for such a long time to come. I think Antoine Winfield as well. That's just money keeping him on that roster. You guys definitely have a real good one with Antoine Winfield.
Yeah, no, I mean, he is just one of the best, if not the best safeties in the league, right? Um, that's why the Bucs wanted to keep him so bad, right? To even place the franchise tag on him, you would hope for a long-term deal. I think they are still working on that, so that's good. But those are the types of guys you want to keep around, right? So the Bucs were able to get that done, at least in some way, shape, or form. Then it was a really good move. So yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I think that long-term deal is coming soon. I know you guys will be ecstatic about that when that comes through.
Oh yeah, yeah. Especially it saves cap space as well.
100%.
No, absolutely. A great question I had for you is which Buck are you thinking is going to make the biggest leap in this 2024 season? Because you guys have a lot of, young guys that are looking to make that jump. Who do you have your eye on the most that you're thinking is going to make that jump this year?
If I had to guess, I would say probably Zion McCollum. He's a guy right now who you traded away Carlton Davis to the Detroit Lions. You didn't take an outside corner, not just in the NFL draft, but in free agency as well. I think that goes to show the amount of confidence the Bucs have in a guy like Zion McCollum. He did start 9 games for the Bucs last year. If you take a look at the advanced stats, he was better than Carlton Davis last year, and even Jamel Dean to a certain degree whenever he was out there playing. Really strong athlete, former 5th-round draft pick, but a guy where if he does hit, is really going to be a solid outside cornerback for a couple years here for the Bucs. And I think that's the hope, right? I think that's the hope, is that he can be this really freak athlete, big outside cornerback. I think he's going to get every opportunity to do so this year.
See, that's not who I expected you to say, but I love the answer because that's not who I expected. So, it's always, that's why I love getting, the insight from everyone else and especially like, the fans of the team, because I thought you were going to maybe say, a Kalijah Kancey or a Yaya Diaby, but I love that answer because it's not what I expected.
Yeah, I think in terms of the biggest leap, right? Like Kalijah, I think that he'll make a leap, right? Yaya, you hope he makes a leap, but from being a 5th-round guy starting 9 games last year to then being a starting corner for 17 is the hope, right? If he does stay healthy. If he plays well, that's a huge leap, right? Like that's a huge, huge leap. So yeah, I think I'd go with Zion McCollum.
No, love the answer. Love the answer.
What do you think is going to be the toughest hurdle for the Bucs this year? Like, obviously, Baker Mayfield had one of his best years. I think the best year of his career last year. And do you think there's going to be any, I don't know, like tough start to get Baker meshing with the new offensive coordinator, or do you think it's going to come on the defensive side? I know like every team's kind of got not a worst case scenario, but something that they are a little bit concerned about going into the year.
One is the schedule. Just the schedule for the Bucs is very tough this year. They play a lot of really good teams. Two is if things were to go a bit wrong, I would say it would probably be in the pass rush. You take a look at their pass rush. You got rid of Shaq Barrett. You released him. You did draft Chris Braswell, edge defender out of Alabama, with that 2nd-round draft pick. But, you have a situation now where it's a lot of guys who haven't proven to be a top guy in a pass rush room right now, right? You have Joe Trine-Shoyinka, Yaya Diaby, who did have a good rookie year last year, but can you rely on a 3rd-round rookie to produce similar, if not better, numbers? That's a pretty tough ask. You've also got Anthony Nelson, who's been a rotational guy throughout his career. Chris Braswell, who now brought in, and Randy Gregory, who has been a rotational guy throughout his career. So that's kind of the one, I would say the biggest area of concern is that pass rush, right? Being able to get pressure without having to blitz all the time, because you open yourself up to get, passed on a lot if you have a good quarterback who can counter the blitz. So I think that's the biggest concern would be the pass rush. I'm sure both you guys agree that a good pass rush can go a long way in the NFL. And the Bucs are relying on a lot of guys who, haven't necessarily proven it yet. So that's going to be the biggest question mark going forward is, can this pass rush prove, not even necessarily without blitzing, but winning one-on-one matchups, that they can be effective, That's a big question that can determine how this defense is going to go.
Well, kind of going off your point earlier with Zion McCollum, a good pass rush makes your secondary so much better. So if you are worried about the pass rush and then you're also taking a chance on a guy in a secondary, not to say he won't be that guy, but more of like the fact of, outside of Jamel Dean, he's kind of the solidified corner in your room, and you kind of need more depth pieces at that corner position. If you aren't getting to the quarterback, it's going to put a lot more pressure on your secondary. And I know that is something that we see a lot of teams that they could have a good secondary, but if they're not getting to the quarterback, you see them get thrown on and slashed all day. So definitely something to look out for in that sense, because the way the offense is moving, if they are able to kind of build on just what they did last year, even if they're bringing in a new OC, I don't think the offense is really going to be their issue this year.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that obviously Liam Cohen having experience working with Baker Mayfield's huge. I think that they brought in a lot of pieces. You brought in Graham Barton, you brought in Jalen McMillan out of Washington, you brought in Bucky Irving out of Oregon. So like they've invested a lot in the offense. I am more concerned about the defense than the offense, specifically that pass rush.
I think just on a final note for that, when you have like a defensive head coach, I feel like they're more willing to lean on a weakness that they're able to fix, So I think that is a pro to having Todd Bowles as your head coach. And was just a quick question regarding kind of last year, the vibes. Was it kind of like a hot seat season for him, and then they surprised with how they played in the playoffs, or kind of what was that kind of outlook last year?
Yeah, I mean, I think at one point they were 4-7, and it wasn't looking great for Todd Bowles. Now they did come back all the way to 9-8, did make the playoffs, and were able to win a playoff game. But I'll tell you what, there were even people who, even after the Bucs won the division, made the playoffs, they wanted to see Todd Bowles fired. And even after they won, there was people who saying if they lose in the playoffs, he should get fired. Or they win that playoff game. Okay, well, even if they get completely smacked down by the Detroit, he should be fired. So there was just a lot of reasons. And in my opinion, it got to the point where it was unfair.
Yeah.
Because look, everybody's definition of progress or success is going to be different. But to me, if you take a team from being 4-7 to 9-8, winning the division and going to a playoff game, even if you lose, even if it's an ugly loss, I still think you deserve to keep your job. If you win that playoff game and go to round 2, you definitely deserve to keep your job, if not 2 more years of your job. So, I do understand people's definitions of success is going to be different. But to me, I think Todd Bowles did a good job last year as head coach after that 4-7 start, to get them all the way back to 9-8, winning that division and winning a playoff game against the Eagles. That was huge. That was huge. So, it would depend on who you asked, right? There would be, but I do think the majority was people wanting to see Todd Bowles let go. And again, even at the time at 4-7, I thought it might be where we're heading, but I definitely think Todd Bowles has earned himself a lot of respect, deserves a lot of respect now based on what he did last year. And I think he's earned himself not just this year, but hopefully next year as well.
No, and I think what I want to say too is it's like we were already talking about. You as a head coach, you only can work with what you have, right? And this kind of leads into my next question I wanted to ask you is how comfortable are you about the team's guard situation currently? Because obviously, and last year without Barton, it was a whole different story. When that whole interior is kind of collapsing the whole time, you can only do so much on offense. Even though obviously Bowles is not as much involved with offense, you can only work with what you have is the whole point. So are you worried about the team's guard situation this year, knowing that you don't have, you don't have the best situation at guard, as we know, but you have, like you said, you guys have invested a fair amount into that. Are you confident that any of these guys can make a big jump this year, or do you think that you guys are probably going to be going early again within the interior in next year's draft?
Well, I feel a lot better about the guard situation this upcoming season than I did at points last year, because Cody Mock's going to be your starting right guard now for a second year. He's going to improve. You did lose Aaron Stinney to the Giants. You lost Nick Leverett to the Patriots. Matt Filer still out there as a free agent. Those were your 3 guards who played left guard last year. But you brought in Ben Bredesen, who started 17 games last year for the Giants. You brought in Sua Opeta from the Philadelphia Eagles, as I'm sure both you guys can attest, a organization that really develops offensive linemen. You have Robert Hainsey, who was your starting center, but before he was forced to play center, he was competing for that starting left guard role. We don't know how he can possibly be at left guard. Maybe he'll be a really good left guard. And then you did also draft Elijah Klein out of UTEP in the 6th round as well to compete at guard. And he could possibly be an underrated guy. So, there are a lot of guys there. I think that out of both guard positions, I think right guard's fine. I think that Cody Mock is going to be your starting right guard, and I think he'll start well. I really, to your point, the only position is that left guard, and you're going to have 4 guys competing for it. Well, 3, possibly 4th, Robert Hainsey. And I do believe that somebody will emerge and be a good, a fine, if not good starter for the Bucs. So it is something that you do have to sit there and question, right? But I think there is a solution on the roster. It's just a matter of finding it.
No, absolutely. And also to your point, you're spot on. Like the reality is when you have young offensive linemen, very rarely do they come in and they're just going to be world beaters and they're going to put out fantastic tape. There's usually a little bit of a learning curve. And like with Cody Mock for a prime example, I loved him a lot. I loved him a lot at North Dakota State. And it's like, okay, it's going to take time to get developed and acclimated into the NFL. And it's like this upcoming year, there could be a humongous leap. So I'm with you 100%, where it's like the reality situation is offensive linemen, there are just like, a few other positions. They're not going to come in and be at their best right away. He could have a huge leap this year. And then all of a sudden, it could really just be one, if not even 0 positions where you're not really worried about it. Because like you said, there's a lot of young guys that could potentially make a leap this year.
Yeah, and I think that's why you invest a lot in the O-line, right? As I said, the Bucs, if this does end up being like, 5 starters that were drafted, every single one of those guys is going to be a 1st, 2nd, or 3rd round pick. So, I mean, that's a lot of investment in your O-line. And I feel like that's the right way to do it. So, yeah, I do think there are reasons to be optimistic about this O-line. And obviously that selection of Graham Barton is going to help out in that interior O-line as well.
Oh yeah, I think like we said earlier, I didn't even like comment on it too much or anything, but I agree with you 1000%. Graham Barton, it's like you said with the JPJ, if you wanted the pure center, go JPJ. But at the same time, Graham Barton, we were watching him over there on that Duke line playing left tackle. Even where like he's kind of, even though that was his natural position, you're saying to yourself, like, this isn't where he's going to play in the NFL. And you can see the punch he has, just the violence he brings. Him moving over to that interior is going to be the switch he needs to have. And he's going to be a mauler for you guys at that interior. I think you guys got a real good one. And like we were saying, if center's not the spot for him long term, you have a lot of versatility for him. You guys can move him around, and you guys will find that spot for him.
Yeah, for sure. No, I agree.
Dobbs, do you have any more questions? I got one fun one to wrap it up, but if in case you got any more you want to get out.
See, okay, so I had one. I should have asked it earlier when we were right on the topic. It's just we were flowing so well. I didn't want to interrupt and just like drop it in there. I was gonna say, because me personally, bro, I actually am really high on Chris Braswell. He's one of my, I don't want to say favorite prospects, but one of the prospects I think is going to have a much better NFL career than he did college career. I think he's very much in that Brandon Graham archetype. He's just gonna get below the pads, drive tackles back, and he's in the perfect defensive scheme that you guys run over there. Do you think he can be a full-time starter by the end of the year? And more than anything, do you think he can really find his way into that rotation early this year?
That's the hope, right? That's the hope, is to, and that's, I think when I graded the pick, I gave it a B+ because I like Braswell. I like Braswell a lot coming out of Alabama. I'm sure both of you guys agree with this. Coming out of big schools, it prepares you for the NFL, right? He's one of the last guys who played for Nick Saban. That's just a cool story in of itself. But a big question is, can he be a leading man? He was kind of 1B to Dallas Turner's 1A at Alabama. Can he be a leading guy? Because that's what the Bucs need. Now, I don't know if they specifically drafted him to be the leading guy in this pass rush, but it'd be pretty darn nice if he could be that. So I like Braswell a lot. Can he be a full-time starter? I think it's definitely possible given who's in that room right now and the different ways they might be used. I could see Braswell being a full-time starter. But right now, I think that he's probably more so viewed as just a high-end rotational guy.
I was going to say, too, with the way your guys' D-line is set up, You guys, honestly, you probably could even kick him into Logan Hall's spot every once in a while, see how he plays there. Like he's got that versatility, especially in the 3-4 that you guys are going to be running, where I think you guys are going to have a lot of opportunities to kind of get him into a lot of different roles, just see where he thrives best. But like I said, very much in that Brandon Graham archetype, I think he's going to find a role for you guys quickly, and I think he can be. I think he'd be one of your guys' home run picks for sure out of this year's class. I loved him a lot out of Alabama, so I think you guys got a real good one.
Yeah, no, I agree. Thanks for that. Yeah, I agree. I think that he'll be a good pass rusher. We'll just see how far he can go here in year number one.
All right, a little bit of a fun question, a little bit of a throwback. I was a huge Jameis Winston fan. What was it like as a fan of the team watching that 30-30 season go down?
So it was fun, right? I mean, in hindsight, it's fun. In the year itself, my goodness, you couldn't have asked for a more frustrating year. Um, and I think the bad outweighed the good, right? Because you see 5,000 yards, 33 touchdowns. I know everybody said it so much, but like you see that and you go, oh, that's great. But like 30 interceptions stings a whole heck of a lot more than seeing 33 touchdowns and 5,000 yards. 30 touchdowns in, the modern era NFL is wild, right? And I was actually there his last game. I was at the game versus the Atlanta Falcons. It was a home game. I was with some friends of mine from out of town, and I remember it went to overtime, and my friend next to me said, "I have a bad feeling he's going to throw an interception," because at that point he was at 29. He was at 29, right going into overtime, and everybody was like, "Oh, phew, he didn't get 30 interceptions." And my buddy next to me said, "He's going to throw an interception," and I said, "No, he's not. He's not going to do that. Come on, man. Got to have a little bit more confidence." First play of overtime. Pick six, Deion Jones, interception returned for a touchdown. Game over. 30 interceptions. Buck season over, 7-9. And
Dude, what a story.
and
I forgot that's how it went.
and I was just I remember just laughing. Like my buddy next to me's jaw was dropped. I was just dying laughing because I couldn't believe I was laughing at the absurdity of it. You know? And my buddy was just speechless throughout, like going back to the car. He didn't say a single word. I'm just dying laughing the entire time because I couldn't believe that actually just happened. And it's kind of a historical moment, right? Like you just viewed a historical moment. So I think it's cool that I was there to be able to see something like that. But yeah, I'll always remember my buddy just going, "I have a bad feeling he's going to throw a pick." No, he won't. First play of overtime, pick six, game over. Sayonara, and wave goodbye. Buck season's over, everybody. Go home. And I remember we got into the car and we were watching the press conferences right after the game. And I think it was at that moment where I think a lot of people, myself and my buddy, both went, "Oh boy, I don't think he's coming back." I don't think he's coming back. Just because, I mean, my gosh, the tension, just the frustration from Arians, from Jameis was just a lot. And I still even remember the quote too, like, Jameis said like, "Oh, I was trying to thread it into tight end Cam Brate. I thought that he was open, so I was going to throw it in there." And I remember Arians came right after and said he was covered and was just like, "Oh my goodness, like this is breaking down quick." So it was nuts. It was nuts.
It's so wild about that story, bro, because you're making me think like the parallels behind how that Jameis left the Bucks and how he now left the Saints it's like the exact same. Like, I'm over here like I would have loved to have Jameis as the backup for as long as possible. Right? Like, for the personality and all that, you love to have it, right? His locker room presence, you love to have it. But when he went rogue on Dennis Allen, it was the same exact where you're like, there's just no way he's gonna find himself back in the locker room next year. Like, there's just no way possible.
Now, were you at the game?
I wish I was. No, I wasn't for this one, but I was certainly watching it live, and I definitely could not believe my eyes.
I couldn't believe it either. I mean, and I'm sure both of you guys, I don't know if you had talked about it on your podcast, but it was just like, what just happened? And, then, and I've seen a lot of different opinions on it. People are fine with it. People are not fine with it. Personally, it's like, that's just wild that you would just not listen to the coach like that. But then Jameis came out and said, we made a decision as a team. Jameis, you threw the entire team under the bus. What are you doing?
Dude,
crazy.
one thing is certain. Jameis is one of one. That's one thing we definitely cannot mistake.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
Once I saw him interviewing the fish that they brought onto the boat with the microphone. I don't know if you guys have seen that video recently.
Somebody just texted that to me today. and it was a colleague of mine, and he said, quote, who else but Jameis?
I would pay like a subscription fee to listen to Jameis narrate NFL games. I think that would be hilarious.
I'll tell you what, man. Cam Newton has his own podcast right now. After he's done with the NFL, Jameis is totally going to have his own podcast. And I bet it's going to be very popular.
Yeah.
If he doesn't, we'll be super disappointed.
Yeah, somebody will have to get him as a co-host or something. He has to be in the sports talk world because his opinions are just going to be insane.
It's just the best thing about him is everything is just him. Like, it's him. Like, you can tell it's not an act. It's not a show. Like, it really is Jameis Winston. So, but... yeah, no, thank you so much for hopping on. I appreciate it. Do you want to let everyone know where they can find you? I'll have all the links in the description as well, but...
Yeah, no, thanks for having me on, guys. Greatly appreciate it. So you can find my work at MrBucsNation on YouTube, also on social medias as at MrBucsNation as well. Do daily content covering the Bucs. I've been doing it for, oh my gosh, like 8 or 9 years now, so... has really been a fun process. Have a lot of content coming out here, and even though we are kind of hitting a dry spell after the draft, so it should be a lot of fun, man. So always making Bucs content, always keeping everybody up to date on the Bucs, and thanks again for having me on, guys. Greatly appreciated.
Of course.
Hey, we greatly appreciate you popping on with us, bro. Seriously, great conversation.
All right, well, thank you guys so much for watching. If you don't know ball and want to know ball, be sure to subscribe. Leave a like. Let us know in the comments what you think the Bucs record will be in 2024. Have a great rest of your day. Thank you.